Sam Leavitt? More like Sam's leaving.
Wow, my voice cracked there. Happy Monday. Welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show. We got an emergency pod. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by Senor Rubis. And of course, we got the deli man behind the Mac making all of the magic happen. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. A ton of folks already in the chat, Rubis, talking about the news of the day as it relates to the Arizona State Sun Devils, and that is that Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt fully intends to enter the transfer portal once that window opens on January 2nd. On3 had reported about a month and a half ago, I think at this point, that it was unlikely that Sam would return to Arizona State. Got confirmation within the last 24 hours that that is indeed true, that Sam Leavitt is going to enter the portal. It's no longer unlikely that he doesn't return to ASU. It's pretty much a done deal at this point.
Let's call a spade a spade. This sucks, right? And I know we're going to get into the fact that we both think this program is going to be fine going forward, so I don't want to have this be a eulogy and a death sentence to Arizona State, because it's not. But this sucks, right? And I think what really sucks, Totri, is the news that surfaced last night. First, let's give you your credit for breaking this news that he's intending to enter the portal. First to have it here, Anthony Totri. Let's just woo!
Just doing my job, man. Doing my job.
Well, you did it well. You did your job well. I think the most disappointing thing is not obviously him entering the portal. It's the news that surfaced last night from Chris Cartman about him not showing up to the banquet. And I think when that happened, this turned from, okay, let's give him, the respect that he deserves for what he did here and for having the ability as a college football player to enter the transfer portal, which both things are still true at this moment. But then the emotion turns into, all right, well, you didn't need to go out like that, right? Yeah. You shouldn't have done that. That was an immature move. And I don't know what you've heard about that situation last night, but that was very disappointing to hear.
So the situation last night was really interesting, right? Obviously him not attending that banquet. ASU, from what I know, had a mandatory meeting Sunday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which Sam Leavitt, from what I've been told, attended that meeting. I don't know if it was later in the day or earlier in the day that Sam and Kenny had met, where there was a conversation, then Sam had let him know that he was going to enter the transfer portal. So between that conversation, between going to that mandatory team meeting and then having the banquet several hours later, for him not to show up, it just is a really odd situation. I feel like if you're going to attend that team meeting and going into that conversation that you already had with Dilly, it feels like you would then show up, right? Like you would go for the team. Like it's for me the most frustrating part about it, specifically that situation last night. I know we'll carry on and continue to get into like why Sam left, because I think that's a really interesting thing that's not really out there yet, at least as it stands right now, is this year maybe didn't go as planned. Right, 2025 wasn't the season that Arizona State fans expected in the slightest. You had every intention of going back to the Big 12 championship. Everyone thought that this was a team built and constructed in a way that could certainly really contend in this conference. And we know injuries really, really hurt their chances, offensive struggles, etc. But what you did accomplish in 2024 was one of the greatest single seasons in Arizona State history as a team. Right. And the big thing about this team was you were going to retain, and you did retain so many of those guys. So many of those guys that went into the 2025 season, and it didn't shake out the way that they wanted it. Ben Coleman, his last year of eligibility, tore his biceps. Xavier Alford didn't get to play in a Big 12 game. Clayton Smith, who was a part of this 3-9 team. Prince Dorba, Justin Watley, right? So many of these guys. Jordan Tyson. So many of these players that aren't going to do it again at Arizona State. That aren't going to do it in college football, period, again. And for you to not go and celebrate them, I think for me is the biggest head scratcher of this whole thing. Like, again, was he always going to transfer? Was there ever a way that Arizona State was going to be able to retain him again? Potentially. But for him to not go to that team meeting, or not team meeting, for him to not go to that banquet and celebrate the team, that for me is like the most questionable, frustrating part of the whole thing. Because again, you were just with the team at a team meeting several hours prior. Why would you not show up to this?
Sure. And look, like, you're the quarterback, right? You're not any other position, and for better or for worse, you're going to get all the credit when things are going well, and you're going to get all the blame when things aren't going well. And a lot of this was out of his control this year, but also I don't think Sam Leavitt played up to his standards. Unfortunately, this season is not what anybody expected it to be. But what we know is that there's been a culture that's been established here about caring about the people next to you. And obviously, hearing things from Kenny's speech last night, like, that culture is the most important thing. But
yeah,
this stings, man. Like, this is the thing where, like, a lot of people now are going to kind of write a revisionist history on Leavitt. Oh, well, it was scat in year 1 and then you sucked in year 2. And I'm not going to do that. Like, Sam Leavitt and his individual play brought Arizona State fans some of the greatest moments that they have ever seen, especially in the modern era. Like, that is a stone cold fact. Now, Cam Scadaboo, clearly a better player and a better Sun Devil than Sam Leavitt. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But that doesn't discredit what Sam Leavitt did here. But I think because all that happened, because you showed up and things went great, and you showed up and everything was awesome in year 1, and then shit hits the fan in year 2, and here you are not only on your way out, but kind of kicking us while we're down, right? To me, it shows a big, big, big sign of immaturity. I don't think that Sam Leavitt is a bad person. We have seen a lot of stories about him helping people, about him, like, being a good teammate. I know that there was some stories about when he first showed up. I know Scat said that people first didn't really like him that
people
much.
People have really started to go back and run with that.
I'm pretty sure that he said that on our show. And so, like, obviously, I think that Sam Leavitt is a little bit of an acquired taste, but I don't think that he's a bad person. I do think that this was incredibly immature and that this was a bad decision. And if you are going to be a quarterback under the microscope and you are going to be somebody who wants to go to the next level, you better have a damn good explanation when these NFL scouts get you in a room and talk to you about this, because this is the type of thing that is a deal breaker for some organizations. Now, Sam Leavitt can go out there and ball next year and everybody can talk about how great of a teammate he is, but there is something to be said about when the going gets tough, how do you respond? Right? I mean, the West Virginia game, I sat here and I defended him about, the stitches and the doctor stuff, but, like, yeah, he could have sat in a suite, right? Public support for Jeff Sims. Look, obviously Jeff talked about how supportive Sam was that final game. Sam was on the sideline watching tape with him, but I'm sure that there was still a part of him that could have supported Jeff Sims publicly more than what he did, which was pretty much nothing, right?
Yeah.
I think there's nuance in all of this, but at the end of the day, what my big takeaway from this is that Sam Leavitt is at this current state in his life making immature decisions. Now, I'm pretty sure just turned 21 or about to turn 21 years old. Obviously, this is a hard decision to make. This is a hard position to be in at this age with this amount of money and your future on the line. And again, I don't fault him for the decision, but a controllable was showing up last night, especially for Kenny. Like, I know you talk about the seniors and the team, and obviously that's a big part of it, but put all that to the side. Buddy, you were the third string or backup quarterback at Michigan State University. Kenny Dillingham said, I want you. Brought you over here. And just like he has with multiple now NFL quarterbacks before you, helped mold you and put you in a position to show your own talent, which you do have and you deserve credit for, but put you in a position to succeed and believe in you and publicly talk about, I want Sam Leavitt. I'm rolling with Sam Leavitt. That is my guy. That is the only guy in college football that I would go to war with right now. Show up for him. Everybody else, yeah. Show up for the guy that has his fingerprints all over the fact that you're going to go get a multi-million-dollar NIL deal somewhere else and be one of the top transfer portal targets.
There's so much to unpack. So much. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to PHNX Sports. I think everybody's going to see this decision, and I know some folks have already done it, and they're talking about the business side and money, right? Like, it's about Sam getting paid. Sam wants to go to the highest bidder. That's not what I've been told. And that's something that is not really new. It's something that I've been pretty vocal about on the show, that if Sam were to leave, right, leading up to today, that it wouldn't be about money. And it's not. Sam was getting paid fine here. Could he get more money in the SEC? Yeah. Will he probably get more money wherever he goes next? Yeah. But we're not talking about like he's getting $5 more million or $6 million more, right? And if you go succeed at this level, and then you are who you say you are, and you're going to go to the NFL and you're going to be a top 10 pick, you're going to be fine. The rest of your life, you're fine. You got deals with all these other giant, companies and corporations. You're fine, right? Like you said, he's 21 years old. Like, he's going to be fine financially. That's not why he left. That's not why he is leaving. From my understanding of the situation, as it has been told to me, as somebody who has direct knowledge of the situation, is that this has more to do with a overall, I believe Sam's camp has a lack of confidence in Arizona State being able to build an offensive line, specifically around Sam. We know this is Sam. He went down with an injury this past season. And I'm not going to put all that on the offensive line. I think that would be totally irresponsible, right? We know the way that Sam runs, which is great. You need that extra yard? Take it. I've been vocal since Sam got to Arizona State of, man, please slide, right?
You've
because you take so many
unnecessary
hits.
You brought it up to him.
You take so many unnecessary hits. And again, not to say that an unnecessary hit was the reason that he, suffered the foot injury and had to have surgery and all that. But this situation is about putting Sam in a position to succeed now to go to the NFL. That's what's at stake. This has nothing to do with he didn't like Dilly, has nothing to do with he didn't like Marcus, has nothing to do with this team underperforming in 2025. That's not the case. Sam, again, from what I've been told, still has a love and an admiration for Dilly and Arroyo. Like, that relationship, they're still good. This, again, has to do with the fact that there doesn't seem to be confidence in Kenny Dillingham and Arizona State to build an offensive line and get weapons around Sam Leavitt to get him ultimately to where he needs to be, or to where he thinks he's going to be in the NFL, right? And people can have their issues with that. Arizona State last week flipped the number one JUCO player in all of college football, an offensive tackle who was committed to Georgia. A 6'8", 310-pound offensive tackle. Now, does that solve all of Arizona State's issues? Absolutely not. But what that tells me is that there is still a desire from outside players to want to play at Arizona State. High-level players at key positions. That's your starting left tackle. Last year, Zechariah Branch, who is now playing, again, at Georgia, it came down to Arizona State or Georgia. An elite wide receiver. Jordan Tyson, a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, upcoming, decided to return to Arizona State. We see what Cam Scadaboo does on a weekly basis, right, prior to his injury for the New York Giants. I have complete confidence and faith that this team can build around their quarterback. But from what I've heard, it sounds like there wasn't complete confidence in the other side to get that done. And again, it's a weird situation this year versus others because there's only one portal window, right?
Yeah.
I think if we're going back maybe even to last year, I think there's a real situation where Sam Leavitt sees this out through spring ball, sees what this roster looks like, practices with them if he can, and then makes the decision in the spring portal window, right? Because then at that point, you'd have an idea as to, where your weaknesses are, what your strengths are. Is this offensive line really what it needs to be? Is the talent at wide receiver really what it needs to be? But you don't have that luxury now. Now the portal opens January 2nd. It's the Wild West. If you don't like what you got to go, right? So I think that definitely plays into this situation. And I mean, you can make the argument it hurts Arizona State, right? I think if Sam would have done this in years past where there is multiple portal windows, where does that put Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham if Sam opts to, hit the portal after spring ball, right? At least now in this situation, you got to go get a quarterback.
Sure.
And you know that.
I think that's part of the reason why the decision's happening now. I think that, again, there's nuance in all of it, right? I don't think Sam Leavitt wanted to screw over Arizona State.
No.
I don't think that. Now, you mentioned the relationship with Kenny and Arroyo and having respect and all that. I hear you, and I'm not obviously questioning what you're hearing with that or questioning that he does feel that. But, buddy, your actions got to match your feelings. Well done is better than well said, as a famous Phoenix Suns coach once said. You have to prove it. You have to put your money where your mouth is. And not just when shit is sweet, right? Not just when everything is fine. You need to do it when your back is against the wall. Even if you're about to leave, you got respect for the program. You got respect for Kenny Dillingham. Don't make him get emotional at your banquet when you're the only captain on the team who's not getting honored. The only one on the Pat Tillman Leadership Council that's not getting honored. Not very leadership of you just to not be there. Clearly that hurt, right? And you don't lose anything from being there except for selfishly feeling bad about your decision. Which, you know what? Maybe at the end of the day, he is conflicted, but he's doing what he or his camp thinks is best for him. It's a tough position to be in, but guess what? Welcome to being a top-end college football quarterback and a potential NFL quarterback. Your life is going to be full of hard decisions that you have to deal with and people that you're probably going to upset. How do you handle those things with respect on your way out? Even if it's not a money thing, that's fine. I understand looking at what Arizona State did this year and saying, I don't want a repeat of that. I think that's completely understandable. But you won a Big 12 championship with this team behind an offensive line that protected you well enough to go to the college football playoffs.
And almost win.
What?
And almost win a game in the college football playoffs. And almost
against an SEC team. Now, was this year the same? No. But what we saw was a team that was, I don't want to say handcuffed, but certainly put in an interesting position where everybody wanted to come back who could come back, right? So you basically had to bank on an entire season of internal development and guys coming back and being able to do the same thing while losing your main key piece in Cam Scadoo plus Leaf Fautano, right? You look at a team like Clemson, guess what? Ton of returners. Didn't end up too great for them. But what we've seen is Kenny Dillingham built a championship team out of the portal. What ASU fans are now excited for, not just at the quarterback position, but beyond, is what Kenny Dillingham can do with this roster. To me, and again, this is obviously a position of not being Sam Leavitt and not being in the situation where I have to make the decision and live through what he has to live through. You see what Kenny Dillingham has done for you and for your career, and you've seen what he's done at Arizona State and the fact that he can go in the transfer portal and get you some dogs. To me, it's just go and trust it, right? Go and figure it out. And guess what? Have faith in the guy that you had faith in to come here and revive, or basically not just revive, but kickstart your career, and you roll with that. That to me is kind of where it's interesting, where it's like, okay, it's not a money thing, it's a roster thing. Okay, why don't you think the guy who built a Big 12 championship team out of thin air can go and protect you better than this season? Like, do you not see the circumstances that led to this year?
I mean, yeah, there's like, when it comes to this decision, like, again, Sam, if you're an Arizona State fan, Sam was never supposed to come, like, he was never supposed to do a third year here, right? Like,
sure,
even us and everybody else, the expectation was, if Arizona State does what they did in 2024, Sam's gone, right? He's going to the NFL draft. Mm-hmm. So, like, for him, I think to see, and again, this is totally me speculating at this point of like where my mind would probably go if I was in his shoes. is, okay, you didn't have the year. You just had to have foot surgery, right? You may or may not be ready for spring ball. Do I run it back knowing even that this year's offensive line and, the situation around the offense in general, the offense just didn't come anywhere near to expectation? Do you say, you know what, I am going to just run it back. I've got faith. I've got confidence that we're going to get back to what we did in 2024 and my stock will go back through the roof? Or if you're somebody that already thought that at this time you would be done with college football, right? Or at least at this point in time, maybe you'd be prepping for a college football playoff game of like, okay, I can go in the portal. I will most likely be, regardless of who else enters the transfer portal, I will most likely be a top 3 player in the portal, right? At a major position. I can almost guarantee I'm going to get more money. Again, regardless of money not really being a factor in the situation. I can go get more money and I can go to a team, not saying he's gonna, I can go to a team in the SEC, I can go to a team in the Big Ten where all they do is breed in the trenches. All they have are giants. All they do is have humongous dudes up front. And like, let's be honest about the situation. You look at the SEC right now, you look at the Big Ten, are there a ton of successful quarterbacks over the last couple of years that have like just been world beaters on the level of like Sam Leavitt's talent? Like I don't go to the SEC and I don't see a quarterback at Alabama that can do what Sam Leavitt can do at his peak. I don't look at LSU and think Garrett Nussmeier from a talent perspective is better than Sam Leavitt. I don't go to Penn State and say, man, if they were equal, if they're playing with the same O-lines and the same talent around them, I don't say, man, like Drew Aller is better than Sam Leavitt, right? Let's call it what it is. Sam Leavitt is an ultra-talented player. And Agreed. I think in a perfect situation with the right offensive line, with the right talent around him, he can certainly be the best quarterback in college football. I think that's 100% true. So, like, I think from his perspective, if you're banking on, I got one more year, why not just go do it somewhere else? And again, not to say that this doesn't hurt him, right? Like in terms of like emotionally having to leave. Also not to say that it doesn't like raise questions for other teams, especially when you go to the league, right? Of like, hey, why'd you leave this situation? And what went down in between? It certainly raises those questions. But again, I'm thinking if I were him, and again, I would have navigated this situation entirely differently. But like, I don't blame him for entering the portal.
No.
Everything in between is kind of the gray area of it's like, man, I feel like you could have probably handled this better. And on the flip side, if you would have came back, if you would have said, hey, I want to be an Arizona State Sun Devil through and through, which is, you know, what it's been made out to seem since you got here ultimately with Dilly, you would have gone down the same way Scat did. Winning a championship or not. Look at Noah Fafita. They haven't won a conference championship. They haven't been to a college football playoff, right? Hell, they had one of the worst seasons in recent memory just last year. And he came back because he believed in the program, right? So you tip your cap to him and look at the way the fan base has rallied around him. You see it all over social media, maybe not in the stands of those U of A games, but like that fan base loves Noah Fafita, right? Because he's committed to the program. Could he have gone somewhere else? Absolutely. Could Tetero McMillan have gone somewhere else a couple years ago? Absolutely. Could Tyson have gone somewhere else? Absolutely. But they didn't. They stayed at their programs because that's what they believed in, right? So, like, there's just a difference in, I don't know if it's like a way of thinking or, you know, what it is, but it's not the greatest look in the world to go out this way.
Well, and look, I'm just going to say this as a fact. You can take from it what you want. Obviously, Ralph has been somebody who's in the chat has been saying this, his sixth school in 7 years between high school and college. Again, that's also the system, right? Like we can't just the same way, like we had a whole conversation about Lane Kiffin, right? Lane Kiffin, the way that he went out and what he did are two different things. What he did and when he did it is a victim of the system, right? Of the college football calendar. How he did it is completely different. Sam Leavitt, what he did and when he did it is this college football system. You can go and leave whenever you want. and you can leave technically in the middle of the season, right? Because ASU has a bowl game, which obviously we will be talking a little bit more about at 1:00 today, that they'll be playing in. But with Sam, like, again, and we started off the show, neither of us are personally mad that he entered the transfer portal.
No.
Like, neither of us, again, you and I might be able to find these different points. I'm not even going to say that we disagree, but we're just trying to talk it out of like why somebody in his position should stay and why maybe he should leave and why there are benefits and downsides to both of those. Obviously, only time will tell with that. Whatever Sam Leavitt does next, whatever Arizona State does next, which we're going to be talking about a lot on our 1 p.m. show and going forward, obviously, through the next couple of weeks as the portal window opens up early January. Like, time will tell about what this program does without Sam Leavitt and what Sam Leavitt does without Arizona State. Would I be shocked if Sam goes on and is the best quarterback in college football and balloons himself to a top 5 pick in the draft next year? I wouldn't be shocked. Would I be shocked?
No, but you have to now. That's the thing.
Okay. Oh, well, that's the thing. You have to. Would I also be shocked if, remember, Sam Leavitt at the beginning of last season struggled until it clicked for him, right? Sam Leavitt did struggle at multiple points this season beyond the scheme, beyond the weapons. There were times where Sam Leavitt didn't play well as Sam Leavitt, as himself. And I sat here and I said that on the show, and that is something that he needs to fix himself, right? You think that you struggling on the road against an SEC program in Mississippi State, guess what? What about when all your road conference games are in the SEC, right? What about when all your road games in general are in these tough environments? Now, cool, you get a nice little bye week for your homecoming game at the end of the season if you go to the SEC. But other than that, like, you're playing tough schedules, right? Would I be shocked if Sam Leavitt, who has to miss spring ball with an injury, learn an entirely new offensive system, and clearly relies on his athleticism a little bit much? Like, all I'm saying is, would I be shocked if he starts slow for an SEC program or doesn't have the season that he wants next year? No, I wouldn't be shocked with that either. At the end of the day, it's up to Sam Leavitt to prove it. But one thing is true, and that is how he handled his exit here is the problem. Not showing up to the banquet is the problem. Like, not being there for your coach is the problem. Not being there for your teammates, that's the problem. And that's why a lot of ASU fans are mad and angry. Now, I think that you need to understand that he's 21 years old and that you make mistakes when you're 21 years old, and you need to allow him to make those mistakes and move on. But that's a mistake. Like, let's not get that twisted. Everything else is up in the air. Leaving or not leaving, we don't know if that's a mistake or not yet. Only time will tell.
Time will tell.
I don't need any time to tell you that what happened and missing that banquet yesterday was a massive, immature mistake. Point blank, period.
It was tough. Like you said earlier, it's like you can only control the controllables. And showing up for your team in that moment was a controllable. You could have gone. Especially, again, like if there was something major going on, if there was a health thing, if there was a family emergency, nobody would have blamed him. But the fact that he was at a team meeting hours prior, it's a bad look, right?
Yeah.
It really is. Deli Man, what do you have on all this? I know we've been kind of going here for the last half hour.
I think you guys covered everything that needed to be said right now in the immediate reaction to it. Like you said, I think we're going to find out a lot more about this whole situation here in the next week or so, especially once, he's officially in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the one thing that I want to get clear is, or I want people to understand and not do, is now start to say, well, he wasn't all that. He wasn't like that. That's the thing that I always hate about these transfer situations, like how Jaden Daniels was handled when he left for LSU. Sam Leavitt is a really good player, and if you just remove Sam Leavitt from this team, you are a worse team.
Yeah,
there are many ways to look at this, but looking at it as this is a positive right now is dumb. What isn't dumb is looking at it, flipping it to be a positive in the future for what this team can become, because we know that Kenny Dillingham wants people that want to be here, and now maybe they have some more resources. But to just say that this is good for the team and the program, I think is so nearsighted, but just dumb. Like you're coping and you're being ridiculous.
Yeah.
there are a lot of things to unpack here, but that's the thing that I always hate when these situations happen, when you go to bat for a guy for an entire year and
multiple years.
Yeah, but specifically the fan base, and you just kind of throw it out the window because he decides to leave. I always think that's stupid.
Yeah.
Wish him well. Look, college football is such a Wild West thing.
It is, but it's fun.
It is fun, but like this is almost a product of what the sport has become now, more so than who Sam is as a person. You don't critique the decision to enter the portal. You can critique how people handle it, and I think that's what people can't lose sight of.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing is we all wish him well, right? At least here on the show. Yeah. Again, as somebody who's been on the show,
I hope it works out for him.
He was always great with media. He was always great anytime that I had the luxury of chatting with him. Absolutely wish him well again. I think Ralph put it really, really well in the comments, saying some mistakes deserve grace, some deserve accountability. He was looking for a new team during the season. Again, like it's in my eyes, was and will this be a mistake? I think that's a conversation for maybe that 1 p.m. show. But I think we can agree you can wish him the absolute best in the future, with also acknowledging that the way that the last month has been handled, just overall has not been good. And again, not just from Sam, from all the people, in his camp kind of running the show here. We do have a $1.99 super chat that I do want to get to from Libertarian Sasquatch, saying, I'm okay with him leaving, but no showing up was soft.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was soft. And again, we can dive into this a lot more. I know we'll wrap up here shortly. I think the only thing that I really feel like we need to just acknowledge here is that the reason why ASU fans should be okay with being okay, we're rooting for the best for Sam Leavitt. This program's going to be just fine. And that's the thing is Sam Leavitt was not what made up Arizona State University. I won't go as far as to say Arizona State University made Sam Leavitt. I think what he does next is going to be the real determining factor in that. But I wouldn't blame somebody for saying that. And Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham, as long as that second name is there, are going to be completely fine. They're going to go find a good quarterback in the portal. Maybe it's a big name. Maybe it's not. You want to know who wasn't a big name in the portal? Sam Leavitt. All I know is that if there's one guy that I'm going to trust replacing somebody at the quarterback position, it's Kenny Dillingham. If there's one guy that I'm going to trust to bounce back from a down 8-4 year, it's Kenny Dillingham, right? We can all be fine and look at what Kenny does in the portal. Hey, publicly wish him well. Good luck. Go figure it out, right? Go do what you need to do. We saw it after the 3-9 year. Jalen Conyers, Elijah Badger, Jordan Clark. I mean, BJ Green, the heart and the soul of the team, the best talent on the team at the time. Go and they leave, and Kenny Dillingham says, wishing you the best. Yeah. Have a good one. Because he knows that he's going to be fine. This program will be fine after Sam Leavitt. There's no need to pray on his downfall, because that means that you ain't got nothing to pray for in Tempe, and that's not true.
Yeah, and two quick things before we get out of here. One, Sam Leavitt's departure frees up money. You are now playing with likely a couple extra $1 million now to go build that offensive line, to go build that defensive line, to go get players at key positions that maybe you couldn't necessarily afford prior because you had to pay Sam is worth. And the biggest takeaway, I think, from this entire situation, which in all honesty, I am so damn happy to see, and I think the fan base should be as well, is that Dilly's not willing to sacrifice this culture. He's not willing to throw it out for one good player, for one great player. Kenny has stood 10 toes that if you want to be at Arizona State, they want you. If you don't, wish you the best, but don't let the door hit you on your ass, man. And for this, that's the situation, right? Kenny, regardless of how difficult it is, for the team, for the program, for the fans, for Kenny personally, to say, you know what? We wish you the absolute best, but clearly you don't want to be here. So see ya. Your culture is in a million times better than what it was just a few years ago when this whole Jaden Daniels situation went down. And not comparing the two, right? Because I think they're wildly different with wildly different circumstances around it. But at the end of the day, QB1 left for another school. It felt like that locker room was literally moments away from being burned down when Jaden Daniels left. I got confidence, and I think everybody around the program is maybe disappointed as they are right now, has confidence that they're going to be all right.
And one more, that's a great point you just made, because think about how that situation was handled within the program when Jaden Daniels left, and think about how it's being handled now.
Yeah.
You had a big group of people that did not have a culture there, who were ready to tear out this guy's nameplate and disrespect his name for making a decision for himself, albeit there was a lot more behind that.
Yeah.
To now, when somebody's leaving, and the only thing you hear about it is Kenny Dillingham getting hit emotionally with it. That's the biggest difference, and that's why you should be confident in this program moving forward.
1,000%. We appreciate everybody that hopped in on the emergency pod. We will be doing our normal show today at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Definitely going to continue to discuss the Sam Leavitt situation, maybe where Arizona State goes next at the quarterback position. Also, Sun Devils headed to the Sun Bowl. We're going to be discussing that. Hopefully should have some sound from Kenny Dillingham during that show. And then, of course, we got to give some love to ASU volleyball, women's basketball, men's basketball. I'm ready for one hell of a show at 1 p.m. again, right here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review on your way out wherever you get your podcast. And if you want to continue to follow along with all your news and notes as it relates to Arizona State, give the show a follow on social at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow Professor Oates, that is Erik Ruby, at Erik Ruby. That's Erik with a K on social. And you can follow the Daily Man at Shane Dief.
If Sam Leavitt is one of the most coveted transfer portal targets, then does that make Kenny Dillingham one of the most coveted quarterback or coaches to play quarterback under? As always.
We'll see you at 1. In the meantime, go Devils. And peace.
We all silly like the mayor.